Well, I mean, we're showing another quarter with continued improvement in our EBITDA, 27% as increase, as you said. And we see that across our company, we're performing really well on finished goods production. We launched our cost reduction program about a year ago. We're ahead of plan. Same thing with the CapEx optimization. We're ahead of plan on that as well. On emissions, we're on target on that. So it's another quarter with a solid performance. Our return on invested capital is at 9.9%, so we're still not at our 10% target through the cycle. So while we're pleased to see the progress, we're not yet where we want to be. So it will continue to focus on further improvements in our financials and also operational.
Svein, I read a great article that you made just a couple of weeks ago, I think, where you were speaking to the FT, and you made the comment which you've made before, the food system is fragile. Just explain to our viewers a little bit some of those tensions, because every single one of these devastating global conflicts, whether it's the Russia-Ukraine war, whether it's problems in the Straits of Hormuz between Iran and Israel, etc., they all affect this fragile system.
Well, with what we've seen in the last few years, we see how incredibly fragile the system is. It started with COVID, where we see, it's a global system. It's been optimized over decades, but it's a very complex system. And when supply chains start to get into trouble, then that spills straight into food prices and food availability. And then when one food superpower, Russia, attacks another food superpower, Ukraine, that spills straight into the food system. And in order to produce food, you need energy, and it's not strange because energy is also how we as humans get energy is through food as well. So it's all connected. And when this starts to be volatile and when energy prices increase, it spills straight into the food system. Right now, food prices are lower. It's good to see we have good crop yields across the world, but it is still vulnerable. And I was in Ukraine 3 weeks ago, and I saw it firsthand. How the Ukrainian farmers are really at the forefront of food production, and how they're out there in the fields in the most difficult of circumstances to produce food. But it is difficult, and even if they've been able to keep food production at an incredibly high level given the circumstances, it is reducing. So when I look at total food production, grains and oilseed in Ukraine in 2023, that was at 78 million. In 2024, it was at 73 million. So it is decreasing. It is tough in Ukraine, and we know that 400 million people are food dependent on Ukraine. It says something about how fragile this is, and that we need to be aware of also the geopolitical risk in the food system.
Svein, you mentioned the launch of your cost and capex reduction program, which you announced back in 2024. You've now reduced your capex guidance slightly for 2025. In terms of portfolio optimization, should we expect any further divestments or restructuring within your portfolio?
Well, when it comes to cost reduction, that's for us business as normal. We will continue to work on optimizing both our cost base, our operations, looking at our portfolio as well. So that's an ongoing work that we will always look at. But indeed, we have made significant improvements in our cost in the last 12 months. Manning is down by 1,400 compared to where we were a year ago. And we have the curtailed operations and the shutdown operations as well as a result of demanding market conditions. But it's also good to see that through these measures that we've taken, and many of them have been difficult, of course, but still to be able to see that is materializing also into improved margins, that's good. So for us, this is ongoing operations and ongoing business.
Let me wrap up with a question on nitrogen markets. Clearly, a lot of your business is dependent on urea prices. Talk to us about the supply-demand balance and what the outlook looks like for the second half of the year. It seems like a lot of uncertainty still around Chinese exports, which have resumed.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of volatility also in the quarter that we've been through because also the Middle East is a big producer of nitrogen fertilizer, and the Strait of Hormuz, I believe about 40% of traded urea goes through the Strait of Hormuz, and then also with the impact on gas fields in Israel supplying the Egyptian producers, what happened in Iran also on production. So there are many elements here going into the nitrogen part of the business as well as also the natural gas side. Then when it comes to China, after a year of not exporting last year, they have committed about 2 million tons of exports so far, and they might increase that. At the same time, we see that India is increasing their imports, both because of strong sales of nitrogen products, but also some of lower production and lower ingoing inventories, which is helping to balance the market. And what we're seeing now is very strong market fundamentals with a demand-driven market for nitrogen.